And I feel like now when I stop worrying as much about the numbers and more about the relationships, that the numbers are taking care of themselves. And I really, truly do mean that. I think next month could be one of our bigger months. It could end up being somewhere around $5.5 to $6 million, just depending upon how things shake out, right? And for my team to basically be able to have a month like that in 1 month, I know that in the beginning, that's what I made, if I was lucky in 1 year.
And so real quick, let's talk about numbers, because you have seen exponential growth over the last, say, 2.5 years. And so you transitioned from loan officer to real estate agent. It's hard fought, tough struggle, but you're outgoing, you're a hustler. You get to 6-8 million, and then the next year you double to 16, the next year you go to 25, and this year you could be on pace for close to 40 in production with the record month that you have coming up. Okay, so we're talking about $40 million in production from literally in about a 3-year span. What do you credit that to? And I want to talk about conversions specifically. And so talk about a couple of the authority symbols that you have in your business now that, and I always say this, is that you can go out and generate 1 million leads and it won't make a shit bit of difference unless the people who you generate the leads from, they look back at you and say, now that's a someone. That's a guy on the radio. That's a guy who's written a book. That's a guy who's a leader in the community. That's a guy who's a philanthropist. That's a guy who will protect my best interests. And so you have to build up that reputation. And so talk a little bit about how you've done that.
Yeah, so, over time, obviously, I had the radio show. And I really started to realize that people, really looked and talked about me differently when I had the radio show. And I was like, okay, how can I continue on this? And I really became a student of direct response marketing. I found Dan Kennedy, which obviously is, those of you that don't know him should look up his name immediately, in GKIC. That was my first, touch with direct response marketing was Dan Kennedy. And then from there, that was my first introduction to direct response marketing. And then I believe it was in probably 2012, Ryan, is when I came across probably one of your webinars that you did with Josh Shanley. That was, my next kind of big introduction. I was always looking for somebody that was in real estate that was focusing direct response marketing in the real estate business. I could never really find it, right? I could find like examples through Dan Kennedy and GKIC, but you were really the first person that I came across that really took it to the next level. You had created, programs and basically positioning and authority and all these different terms that I'd always heard about, but I actually saw you physically doing it in the real estate space. So I was completely intrigued by that, dove, pretty deep into direct response marketing. Still to this day, that's really the only thing that matters is, if you're not creating marketing that's generating a response, then what the hell are you marketing for? But, I started 2 websites in addition to my radio show, which is now a podcast. It's Real Estate 360. So I do a weekly podcast that you can be found on iTunes, just like this podcast can. I have 2 other main websites, Bristow Daily Homes and Gainesville Homes Daily, for those of you that want to check those out. Those are basically 2 lead generation websites. So I finally said to myself, I don't necessarily want to be the guy that's known to go all over Northern Virginia, because Northern Virginia is too big for me to handle. And I live in Bristow, Virginia. I really want to kind of focus on Bristow and Gainesville, which is the neighboring city. What better way to do that than to start to do videos? Once again, this was a positioning thing for me. I committed that I was going to do these videos for a minimum of 1 year. Every day I was going to get up, I was going to shoot a video of all the new listings that came on the market. Painful is the word that comes to mind when I think about when I started doing that, because nobody really wants to get up every morning at 5:36 in the morning and shoot a video or 2 reviewing these listings every single day. But I did that. I committed to that. We had an opt-in page, landing page through Google AdWords, where basically I was driving traffic for anybody that was looking for homes in Bristow, homes in Gainesville. We had certain keywords that we were targeting, and we had them driven to a landing page where they would opt in, name and email. Right? Once they opted in, that starts the conversation, right, Ryan? So we have to continue that conversation. My plan was to continue that conversation for a minimum of 1 year with these people. So positioning, was huge for me. So created these websites, Bristow Daily Homes and Gainesville Homes Daily, along with the podcast. I had all of this going. I was generating good lead flow through these 2 sites. Then created the book, right? Which was just a recent rollout, obviously. Now became a published author. Actually, now I'm a twice published author because I had one in the mortgage business, right? So now everyone wants to know not only, okay, well, you did a radio show, now you're doing then a podcast, now you have a book. What in the hell is going on here? Like, how do you have time to do all this stuff? And really, I think I credit most of the jump in business to just continue to further my positioning and my authority in the marketplace.